You gotta be kidding me. I'm finding out more of these search engine manipulations, billions of clicks being diverted away from what you're asking for and being driven to the propaganda of some Google algorithm guy or girl out there in Silicon Valley. We're going to expose it. It's shocking. Thank God for Elon Musk. He's out there blowing a whistle with that huge platform he's got. But we're going to expose the Google search games that are going on during this election cycle. And speaking of election cycles, you got to catch Venezuela, the real story, the inside story of how our government traded off criminals that are nephews of Maduro in order for a promise that he would do better with the election integrity. And then we're going to get into the real understanding of Harris's Marxist roots from her professor father who trained her to what she's saying in her speeches that most people don't catch. And you know, Mercedes, it could stress me out to hear all this stuff. If it wasn't for the fact that I have a health regimen that I'm working on now, thanks to you doing that health summit we did at the Trump Doral down in Florida. I've been introduced to a whole lot of interventions. It keeps me buoyant and lively and healthy and flexible. I got this report from Todd, who's 69 years old. He's lost 30 pounds. His blood pressure is down. Brain fog is almost completely gone. He's breathing better. This is because he took action on checking out the Level 10 Matrix. The level10matrix.com. Call 800-361-2270. Riley, who's 29, did the Matrix therapy 4 months ago. Noticed improvement within 24 hours. Vision improved. His pain significantly decreased. Darlene, 68. Her blood sugar went down from 9.6 to 7.6 in 8 weeks. Ron couldn't sleep on his shoulder, unable to do it for years. Now he can. His knee pain is completely gone. Folks, the variety of testimonies we have from Level 10 Matrix are sobering. I want you to go to level10matrix.com. Before you medicate, before you operate, try to regenerate the cellular structure of your own body and see what God's already put in you that can heal itself. Call 1-800-361-2270. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, just like Neo, right? Matrix. And we will connect you with the mothership. Facebook and Instagram, comment Matrix, and we'll link you up. Let's get into today's sobering and wild program. We have to have programs like this because it's kind of like you have to ferret between reality and non-reality because there's a skewing of everything. I'm going to prove it to you. Greta Van Susteren is not necessarily one of our regulars in the War Room or our conservative podcast. But she was challenged by, hey, Elon Musk keeps on exposing the manipulation of search engines at Google, which is misdirecting and misleading and putting their own propaganda in front of people when you go to search for something. So she said, when you go to Trump rally, according to Elon, you end up with Kamala Harris having a meeting. Let's go to video 15.
On Elon Musk tweet, I thought that can't possibly be true. It says that if you Google Trump rally, that something about Vice President Kamala Harris comes up. So let's see. He's right. Vice President Kamala Harris campaigns in Atlanta. It's wild. Harris holds raucous rally in Atlanta as she and Trump battle for Georgia. Why in the world, when you Google Trump rally, does it turn out to be Vice President Kamala Harris campaign? So I guess Elon Musk, he was right about that one.
I'll tell you another one Elon was right about. So he said, try to Google Trump assassination. You'll put Trump A, Trump ASS, Trump ASSINAS. And as you go down, you got McKinley assassination, Garfield assassination. You have Reagan assassination attempt. You have JFK. You don't see Trump in the list. And so I put this tweet out. You guys got to go to X. Keep track of what I'm saying. I say stuff here I say no place else because Elon protects me. Other platforms can punish me. So you enter in Trump assassination. Now, I just did it today. They've cleaned it up. You see, what you have to do is you actually have to call them out. And I guarantee if it was me, they wouldn't be changing it. But Elon Musk says it. It's like, oh, man, Elon again. Well, fix it. So we're going to find more and more evidence of manipulation of information constantly happening. What do we have for video? Oh, here's one. Christopher Wray goes up before our Senate and House, and he gives a report of the assassination attempt from the director of the FBI, and then makes the startling statement, which would be said by him in order to give cover to the fact that Trump wasn't really in an assassination attempt. Maybe it was a monitor that shattered. Maybe it was glass that broke. But there was no monitor shattered. There was no glass that broke. Maybe it was a bullet. Maybe it wasn't. We don't know. So our dear Senator Kennedy here from Louisiana, right? Mm-hmm. Watch him clarify the issue with the second in command at the FBI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Abate. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, Senator. Thank you.
You are the Deputy Director of the FBI. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator.
Is there any doubt in your mind or in the collective mind of the FBI that President Trump was shot in the ear by a bullet fired by the assassin crooks?
Senator, there is absolutely no doubt in the FBI's mind whether former President Trump was hit with a bullet and wounded in the ear. No doubt, there never has been.
Okay.
I've been part of this investigation since the very beginning, and that has never been raised.
You're sure?
Yes.
It wasn't a space laser.
No.
It wasn't a murder hornet.
Absolutely not.
It wasn't Sasquatch.
No, Senator.
It was a bullet.
It was a bullet, Senator. 100%.
Fired by crooks.
Yes, sir.
That hit President Trump in the ear and almost killed him.
100%, Senator.
Okay. Glad we cleared that up.
Well, glad we cleared that up. And you're going to have to clear up everything. And you know what concerns me is I look at trends, look at these trends that are happening with election cycles. And one of the things that I believe is true is that this year, what's happening all over the news cycle in terms from the Olympics to the elections in Europe to South America with Venezuela, I believe that there is an ominous pattern, kind of almost like you could say like a weather current from my paradigm of spiritual things. There's a certain ominous move of illegality, confusion of issues with a weird agenda that is being pushed upon the West particularly, media in collusion with it, and governments that cannot be trusted, from the FBI giving their report unless they're held to accountability, to news media distorting the facts and search engine manipulation and social media. And then you've got the Venezuela vote. So this is significant because in Venezuela, you have Maduro in his election. The United States has surprisingly, in this case, come out in the right role of saying, hey, 7 million out of their 25 million people have left because of poverty, economic destruction, crime, and the Maduro dictatorship. 7 million people have left. A number have, according to Donald Trump, and we have no reason to doubt it, a number of their criminal elements have made their way all the way to the United States. But you have the remaining people, 73% or 65%, that have voted against a continuation of the Maduro dictatorship that's having devastating economic effects. But the reality is Maduro is refusing to leave office. They control their media. They control their police. They control their army. And they control the election integrity department. And they're saying, oh, they won. And the United States says, actually, we believe you didn't win, and that we're going to recognize your opponent, actually, as, here I'm going to quote Anthony Blinken, given the overwhelming evidence is clear to the United States and most importantly to the Venezuelan people that Edmund Gonzalez Urrutia won the most votes on their July 28th presidential election. And he said he's struggling with what kind of sanctions or consequences are attached to that. But the country's opposition says its tally of about 90% of the vote shows that Gonzalez received more than double of the support of the incumbent president, in line with independent polling conducted before the contest, but that Maduro insists that's all inaccurate, and he's going to show the final numbers and give you an accurate report. Does anybody doubt that Maduro is running an illegal regime and that he's not going to accept the results of this election? And so the presidents of Brazil, Mexico, and Colombia called for Venezuela to release detailed voting tallies. Now, they can give the tallies, they'll give the totals, they'll give whatever numbers they want to give. But how are you going to be able to verify whether any of that is true? They're racked with protests. And what kind of protests do you see? I hope this doesn't happen in the United States. They're reduced to pots and pans banging in the streets. There is some street protest, but they're being rapidly suppressed because Maduro says he will not tolerate any kind of violent opposition in the streets. So what you've got there is a banana republic election. And what bothers me about this is what we call the snap election cycle, which means it happened in France. And a similar game played out in the UK, slightly different. But when you have a short election cycle, the media bombards you with information, kind of like they're doing now with Kamala Harris. $310 million came in July, suddenly completely outpacing Trump's war chest, even after an assassination attempt. And what you see is, in a short cycle of less than 100 days, there could be such a confusion and such a blitzkrieg of manipulated press that the average low-information voter doesn't have an opinion regarding Kamala like they did with Joe Biden, who they felt was too old. And it's possible that she could end up getting elected. But that's the power of short cycles, where you don't have a whole year with which to really skewer, expose, and reveal the agenda and the person who is running for office. So Lula da Silva, who himself had run a similar, I believe, illegal coup that got rid of Bolsonaro, is calling on Venezuela to just release the final numbers so everybody has some peace of mind. Maduro, kind of like our high-level Democrats in some areas in the intelligence community, are afraid that if they were to ever leave office, that they would be facing corruption charges, that they would be facing the consequence of a mobilized, democratic, angry public searching out whatever criminal activity was going on that was suppressing them during his administration. So Maduro's government controls all the state institutions. And because of that, my guess is there's going to be very little that's going to come out of this. I had to Google this. He owns the CNE. I don't know why they call it CNE. It's the National Election Council. And so they're going to be providing you the voting technology. They run the software. They control the software. And they therefore will give the final report. Does that sound like anything you've ever seen in the Western Hemisphere before? Is it a forecast of things to come? I hope not, but we'll stay tuned. We'll be right back. I want to take a moment to talk about the volatile financial time that we're in. And I want you to empower yourself with knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge, the Bible says. Visit lancewallnau.com/Birch and get a free information kit. Consider discussing how to shift your 401k or your retirement account into a tax-sheltered gold and silver account. Why don't you go to lancewallnau.com/Birch right now and take action for a secure future. Welcome back to the Lance Wallnau Show. It's imperative that we, as the keepers of the civic order or the savers of the United States, understand stuff that the rest of the country doesn't go into. They just skim over. Like they're into the next news cycle or the next story or the next distracting, shiny object. But what we need to get is that our administration, in another demonstration of what Harris and Biden as a culture, you're going to get Biden 2.0 when you got Harris in office. You need to know how they think. Here's what they did. There's some really weird juju that goes on with A whole lot of effort was put into capturing a money launderer, a criminal, a thief in the Trump administration. We extradite, we get a hold of, we arrest, we process, due process, lock up. And then the Biden administration says, hey, you got 2 major criminals in your cartel. I'll tell you what, you want them back? I'm going to just let them out of our judicials here. We're going to let them go free, then go back to their estates there in Venezuela, go back to pick up where they left off. But we want you to do something in exchange. Promise us you're going to have free and fair elections. By the way, we're not going to monitor them. We're not going to be down there. We're not going to be overseeing it. Would you just give me a pinky promise that if I give you back your criminals, that you'll give us a free election there in Venezuela? Maduro said, yeah, sure. Takes them back and then rips off the country. I think Marco Rubio needs to be heard. Marco, take it.
We have to stop talking about the Maduro regime as a government. It is not a government. It's not. It's a narco-terrorist organization who makes money off drug trafficking, is in bed with Iran, is like Iran's foothold in the hemisphere. They do deals with Iran, with China, with Russia, with drug trafficking networks. And they're a disaster economically. They destroyed the country. This is a criminal organization that's empowered itself of a very wealthy country. And so the result is 8 million Venezuelans have left there in the last decade, many of them headed here and in other parts of the world. And they've been driving that. Trump put on very strong sanctions. Biden comes in and says, we will lift the sanctions and we will send you 2 convicted drug dealers, convicted, sitting in federal prison, who are nephews of Maduro. Biden released them. He also released the #1 money launderer, someone who the Trump administration went to great lengths to have him extradited to the United States when he was apprehended in Africa. They released all these bad guys in exchange for a promise to have free and fair elections, which they were never going to do. They stole the elections. Basically, they won't release the precinct level count. Everybody knows that he lost that election. And now, the guy's trying to hold on to power, and he's laughing at us. And the Biden-Harris administration were clowned again on foreign policy. And by the way, lifted oil sanctions on them because we wanted to buy more of their oil, but we won't let our own companies produce here at home. So it's a fiasco all the way around. Isn't it another reminder that everywhere where socialism is, always winds up with the same thing: poverty and tyranny. That's the result of socialism everywhere. Look at our border. They come from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela. All these are socialist countries. People flee those countries. Why the hell would we ever want that in America?
So what we'll see is if Anthony Blinken very quickly comes up with the power play of saying, we're not going to take your crude oil, your crappy oil, your environment. This is the madness of the left, and I'm telling you, there's a logic to it in its own perverse way. They shut down American oil production that has the highest standards of environmental processing, and they go to Venezuela, which has the highest level of pollution in cheap processing, and we give them our money to buy their environmentally toxic oil that's polluting the earth, rather than give the money to American infrastructure for oil and gas, because the Democrat Party is against the energy oil industries. They just want to shut them down because their environmentalists are crazy and have disproportionate power over policy. They want to go with putting trillions of dollars into solar and windmills and green things that actually don't work. So let's hear Senator Rick Scott. I just want you to get another layer of this, because he made his appeal as Florida senator, another Florida senator, to directly to the White House to discuss what's happening with Venezuela. Listen to this.
Biden did a deal with Maduro. Maduro says that now a complete liar dictator said, I will hold free and fair elections. And so what did Biden do? He reduced the sanctions. So Maduro doesn't do the right thing. He doesn't have a free and fair election, right? Does Biden do anything? I can't get Biden to do anything. I've called the White House. I've called everybody I can to talk to get Biden to say something, right? There's an OAS meeting tomorrow. We have a permanent member. I'm getting them to, at that meeting, say that one, we want Maria Corina Machado to be safe. Maduro's trying, to arrest her right now. The president-elect is Emilio Gonzalez. He is the president-elect. Let's be clear. Let's support the people. We know the tallies. The tallies are out. The opposition won 73% of that vote, right? That's everything we've seen so far. So, and Maduro, they're letting him go, try to recreate tallies so he can say he won, barely won, which is what he's doing. He's a liar. The Biden administration gave him the opportunity to lie and steal another election.
Well, where do you go with that? I think we need to understand that there's something about this government, I mean, I know for a fact that we have pro-Marxist elements in our State Department that have interfered with conservative parties, conservative elections, conservative progress. Thank God you got an Argentina madman and an El Salvador. When these countries finally get guys in office that are raging entrepreneurial, get rid of this woke communist system that has collapsed and only serving the elites, those that are in the party, in the military, over these various institutions. And let's make the government work for the people. Everywhere it's done with Trumpian, make El Salvador great again, make Argentina great again, make Hungary great again, the people thrive. And where socialism goes, they're in agony. Mercedes, do you have anything to add to this before I go off into...
I mean, the alternative way to handle this would be what Elon Musk is proposing right now on Twitter. Have you seen this, Lance? Have you seen he's challenging this guy to a fight? Did you hear about that?
This is the second time that Elon has done it. He did it with Zuckerberg. I don't know wherever that went. That was so adolescent. You want to go take it outside? We'll go. So Elon, is this for real? Elon, evidently Maduro took it seriously.
He did. Oh, he accepted it. I don't know if we have the footage of it, but on the tweet, Elon says, if I win, he resigns as dictator of Venezuela. If he wins, I give him a free ride to Mars. So I thought it would be really funny. And then, here, show the next ones too, because then people start making fun of Elon, and they're talking about, it's like, remember when he, like you said, when he was going to fight Zuckerberg, Elon writes at the bottom, all three of us enter the ring, only one comes out. And then so anyways, you see the footage here of the tweet. Do you have the footage of him accepting? Now it's going to be in a different language for
you have to translate it.
What?
You have to translate it.
¿Quieres pelea? Vamos a darle, Elon Musk. Estoy listo.
I'm ready.
Soy hijo de Bolívar y de Chávez.
I'm a son of
No
Chavez.
tengo miedo, Elon Musk.
I'm not afraid of you. Let's go at it. Wherever you want. In any neighborhood. If you want it, I want it, Elon Musk.
It's just who had this on their bingo card for 2024. That's what I want to know. It was so funny. It's just, that's a different way to handle it.
It's bizarre. It reminds me of Hulk Hogan tearing his shirt off there at the RNC for Hulkamania. And, you come after my president, I'm coming after you. We're living in a strange, surreal.
These are the things when people talk about, we're living in a matrix or everything's made up. I mean, these are the things where you think, is this really life? You've got the wealthiest guy in the world building rockets to Mars, bought Twitter, and he's challenging presidents to fight. I mean, it is just so odd, Lance.
Well, look, this is. Let's just. I got a segment here. I don't know how to segue into it, but I'm going to go there on socialism. And listen to me. I got this cool interview here, real quick segment on revealing Kamala's quote and how she's actually not word salad like you think she is. She is quoting Marxist doctrine. Her father was a Marxist. She is like the Manchurian Candidate. She never got elected to office. She got appointed to office to get shoved in to be the Marxist leader for Obama 2.0. And so I want you to catch video 10. Play it.
Vice President Harris will say repeatedly, what is the quote? The quote is that we can see what can be unburdened by what has been. Is that word salad or Marxism? It's Marxism. That is, in fact, not at all word salad. It is a Marxist, as I said on Twitter the other day and got mocked relentlessly by the media for this. I said it's a Marxist incantation, as a matter of fact. It's like a spell. So you can see the possibility of a world that's unburdened from its own history, which is exactly what Mao Zedong did when he launched the campaign of Smash the Four Olds, the four old characteristics of Chinese society. They were going to make a new China that was going to be unburdened by what had been in the past of China. This is what the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, did when they took over power in Russia, is that they were going to make the new Russia. They're going to make the new man, as a matter of fact. People could become unburdened by what has been so that they could see what could possibly be in the terms of a socialist utopia. So, Madam Vice President, when she says that, I assume, given that her father was a Marxist and a professor, I assume she knows what she's saying, and I don't buy her Idiot Valley speak shtick one bit. I think she's far more smart and far more savvy than conservatives have given her credit for, and she is an outright Marxist. It is very, very clear in her language, and that's what the Democrats want to nominate for president right now, which is kind of horrifying.
And why in the world would our elites in business be behind this? Why are we funding disproportionately? As Elon put a list out of all the Silicon Valley funding and the big corporate funding that's going towards Kamala versus Trump. What is it about Klaus Schwab's promise that you will own nothing, but you will be happy? In other words, someone's going to own something, and it's going to be the people that are in charge of you. You can't be trusted. And therefore, you have to be managed with disinformation. You have to be corralled together. I think we saw this in the way that COVID was handled. I'm going to come back to that in another segment on some new revelations. But the part that I think we got to nail down is Kamala's quotes on reimagining policing and reimagining climate and environment and reimagining guns. Every time she uses the word reimagining, she's appealing to this Marxist utopian, let's start over and do it differently. We've got so much more we have to cover, but I'm up against the clock. Now, I don't have to always obey the clock, but I'm disciplined. I like to help my listeners know that we're only going to be covering up like within 25 minutes. We're giving you precise prophetic perspectives on what's really happening in the world, things you don't normally hear. Go to lancewallnau.com/podcast to get this every single day. This is Lance Wallnau, Mercedes Sparks, signing off and telling you tomorrow's show is one you don't want to miss.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world